Revenge with Karen.
The first sign they didn't see me coming was when the new guy tried to print the quarterly earnings deck and got a 37-page error log that ended with, "Try asking Catherine." The second sign was when the CFO's dashboard froze mid-slide and rebooted with my old intern evaluation form instead. I didn't do that one on purpose, but it made me smile. Truth is, the whole damn system ran because I willed it to. Spreadsheets didn't move unless I mapped the logic. Vendors didn't get paid unless I wrote the triggers. And when the sales team proudly announced their streamlined process, it was my fingers, coding until 2 a.m., hopped up on vending machine coffee, that made their automations work. But no one clapped for that. 5 years. I gave them 5 years and 2 birthdays. I spent hunched over a terminal instead of blowing out candles with my niece. I built ops workflows like duct-taped miracles and still got told to smile more during team calls. I was the fixer, the janitor, the woman who could dive into a database blindfolded and come out holding the exact line of code that broke the invoice upload again. I made broken things work and never asked for credit. At Monday stand-ups, the managers would say, "Great job, team," while directly quoting my notes, bullet for bullet. The project doc I updated every Sunday night. When we landed the McCleary contract, the VP said, "Massive team effort." That team was me, an old ThinkPad, and a migraine that made me see stars. When systems crashed, my phone rang. When they worked, someone else got the promotion. But I stayed, because I believed in systems, in clean logic, in knowing that even if no one saw the gears turning, I was the one who oiled the machine. I stayed because it was easier than starting over. I stayed because, somewhere deep down, I thought maybe someone would notice. That maybe, just once, they'd say, "Catherine made this happen." They didn't, and that's okay. Because when you're invisible, people forget to watch you. And when they forget to watch you, they forget who really has the keys. By the way, if you've made it this far, go ahead and hit the like button and maybe subscribe. It tells the team I'm not shouting into the void. I swear it fuels them better than caffeine. Also, apparently 95% of people listen to these without subscribing, and that hurts their tiny techie hearts. Anyway, back to the story. I didn't know the end was coming that Thursday morning, but I felt it. The office had that buzz. Like everyone but you got an email about a surprise party, and you're the surprise. My access logs had started showing weird pings at odd hours. Someone was exporting archived data. Not in bulk, no, that would have triggered the security alerts I'd hardwired myself. This was careful, surgical, pulling just enough files to avoid raising flags, but enough to rebuild what I'd built. Somewhere else, without me. A week earlier, I'd walked past the 5th-floor conference room and seen my intern, former intern, presenting a roadmap I'd drawn on a whiteboard during a late-night fix-a-thon. It was mine. Every slide, my words. Now he was strategy junior partner. The title sounded like something a startup bro made up between espresso shots and equity dilution. But the message was clear. I was being phased out. Still, I showed up. Fixed a payroll issue at 6:47 a.m. Reset someone's SSO access by 7:05. Ate my dry oatmeal and listened to the marketing team scream about a broken integration they caused by deleting their own API key. No one thanked me. No one looked up. That's when I knew I wasn't being phased out. I was already gone. They just hadn't told me yet. He walked in like a LinkedIn ad come to life, perfect stubble, overconfident handshake, and a TED talk aura that made the interns swoon and the veterans instinctively double-check their retirement plans. "Call me Trent," he said during his intro meeting, grinning like he invented synergy. I don't believe in silos. I believe in solutions. I damn near choked on my lukewarm coffee. He said the word streamlining 12 times in the first 10 minutes, like he'd been dared to squeeze it in more than hello. By lunch, we had a Slack channel called #TrentFormations. No one was laughing. Trent's first act as VP of Operations, because of course it was ops, was to schedule back-to-back pulse check meetings. It sounded harmless. It wasn't. Every 15-minute calendar block was a slow lobotomy. Him smiling, nodding, asking questions he didn't understand the answers to. "Do we need all these legacy scripts?" He asked me once, staring at a heat map I built myself. Couldn't we, just migrate to one dashboarding solution? I told him those legacy scripts were literally holding together our vendor reconciliation logic like spiritual duct tape. He said, "Cool, cool. Maybe keep that in your back pocket." I kept a list of things I wanted to keep in my back pocket. Trent's name went on it twice. My weekly check-ins with the old director used to be sacred. Even when they were 5-minute hallway updates, they were something. That was before the merger, before Trent. By week 3 of his reign, my check-ins were pushed, then shortened, then disappeared altogether, like a ghost file in a corrupted repo. No one told me why. Just a smiling EA emailing, we're streamlining weekly syncs for efficiency. Sure, efficiency. I started noticing weird little edits on shared docs. Tags removed from my name. Action items reassigned to other people, mostly ones who had strategic in their titles and wore blazers that looked rented. The roadmap deck, my roadmap deck, came back from review looking like a buzzword salad. Operational elasticity, workflow harmonization, stakeholder delight. I checked the version history. My name was gone, so was my formatting. It looked like corporate Mad Libs got drunk and barfed onto my slide deck. Then came the whisper. A friend from finance pinged me quietly, "Hey, saw the org chart update. Did you know Marcus is listed as lead now?" Marcus, my intern. The one who once asked if JSON was a spreadsheet format. That Marcus. I didn't reply right away. I didn't trust my fingers not to break the keyboard. Later that day, I bumped into Marcus at the vending machine. He grinned, nervous, two wide teeth. "Hey, Catherine, crazy week, huh?" I nodded, said nothing. He fidgeted, then added, Trent said we'd loop you in on the new system design once it's more fleshed out." That's when I knew. I wasn't just being phased out. I was being replaced, repackaged, rewritten. But they forgot one thing. Systems don't care about titles. They don't recognize buzzwords. Only know one thing: who really built them. It happened on a Thursday, which already had a reputation for backstabbing in this place. Maybe because it was close enough to Friday that people thought they could wash the blood off with weekend plans. I was halfway through automating next month's partner commission splits when a calendar alert popped up like a death knell. 9:30 a.m. HR check-in mandatory. No subject line. No context. Just that clean little Outlook invite with a meeting room that no one liked walking into unless it was to sign paperwork or say goodbye. My gut didn't clench. My heartbeat didn't change. I just stared at the screen for a beat too long, then closed my laptop like I was folding shut a chapter. I didn't bring my notebook. I didn't even bring coffee. Just stood, adjusted my badge, and walked down the hall like I was going to fix the printer. Kind of walk that doesn't beg, doesn't protest, just knows. Trent was already seated when I got there, legs crossed like he was about to explain a TikTok algorithm to his grandma. HR's Dana sat beside him, all sympathy eyes and botoxed concern. "Hi, Catherine, thanks for coming," she started, like I had a damn choice. Trent gave me that smile, equal parts pity and smug self-congratulation, like a boy who just learned how to tie a tie and wanted a trophy. "Look," he began, leaning forward like we were buddies swapping career advice over brunch. "You've been amazing. Truly, everyone says so. But with the merger and new structure coming in, we're making some adjustments. Restructuring, aligning roles with our long-term vision." He said it like he was offering me a promotion in heaven. Like being erased was a graduation. Ina slid a severance packet across the table. Her nails were perfect. Her tone was kind. "We're offering a generous exit, 2 months' pay plus Cobra assistance. We're happy to provide a reference. Trent's already drafted something glowing." I glanced at the paper but didn't touch it. Trent kept talking. "You've really been the glue here, Catherine, but it's time to let new voices step up. I think this'll be a good thing, for everyone." That's when I finally spoke. Just one sentence. "Oh, Venom, no raised voice. Tell your board the 4 p.m. performance review should be interesting." His smile flickered, just a hairline crack. Dana blinked, unsure if she should write that down. I stood, reached for my badge, pulled it off slowly, deliberately. Placed it on the table like a calling card at a crime scene. Then I left, no goodbyes, no tears, just the soft click of the door behind me. Back at my desk, I didn't pack up. I didn't need to. Been prepared for this ever since the day they promoted Marcus and turned my roadmap into corporate spaghetti. I already had everything I needed: backups, logs, redundancies, and one very important auto-execution script I'd written years ago when the CTO asked what would happen if Catherine ever left suddenly. They thought they'd locked me out. They didn't know the lock was mine. The 4 p.m. performance review was still scheduled. Outlook said the whole exec team would be there. Trent was probably rehearsing buzzwords in front of a mirror, thinking he'd be the star of the show. He had no idea. The show wasn't his. I didn't go home. I didn't go cry in the stairwell or text my sister dramatic half sentences like I used to after a rough day. I went across the street to the corner cafe, the one with burnt espresso and chairs that wobble just enough to keep you humble. Ordered a small black coffee. No cream, no sugar. Just like the moment. Bitter, clean, necessary. The cashier smiled, not knowing a damn thing about what just happened 23 minutes ago. I liked that. The world kept turning, unaware that a very specific type of storm was about to roll in. I sat in the back corner booth, the one with the chip tile that everyone avoids, pulled out my personal laptop, flipped open the lid like I was laying down a chessboard, tethered to my phone. Oh, company Wi-Fi. No risks. Private browser tab. VPN engaged. Two-factor authentication routed through a burner email I created back in 2021, right after the company announced the first round of cost-saving layoffs. My fingers moved on their own, muscle memory guiding me like I was typing in my own mother's birthday. The legacy admin portal loaded, not the flashy front end the execs used to show investors. The real one. Dusty old framework no one remembered but me, because I built it. Brick by digital brick, before Trent, before the reorg, before they forgot who ran the plumbing underneath their shiny, stupid castle. It asked for a credential string, admin K22, still worked. I was in. The dashboard greeted me like an old friend, and everything was exactly where I left it. Pipeline integrations, performance dashboards, employee hierarchy trees, auto-generated quarterly review slides. Trent's entire presentation was being pulled directly from my systems, feeding him line after line of success metrics I'd optimized without anyone noticing. The same data I once fought tooth and nail to verify, to clean, to make beautiful. It had become his crib sheet, but not today. I scrolled down to one module, Q4 review slides auto exec 11/1416, 00, clicked into it, took a breath, one line of code, that's all I changed. Just one instruction, right before the slide deck would generate and go live during the board meeting. It didn't delete anything. It didn't break the system. It revealed the system, exposed the true authorship metadata, logged the credential sources, labeled every edit, every manipulation, and every access timestamp. Like a ghost script pulling back the curtain on who actually held the reins, who tried to fake the ride. The final slide, not numbers, not charts, just a plain black background and one centered sentence. This is who kept your company alive. I saved, logged out, shut the laptop. There was no drama, no thunder, no background music swelling like in some Hollywood revenge flick. Just a sip of cooling coffee, the faint hum of traffic outside, and a calmness I hadn't felt in months. People always mistook me for quiet, background noise, but I wasn't background. I was the system, the engine, the spine, and they just fired the skeleton out of their own damn body. Now all I had to do was wait for 4 p.m. and let the bones collapse. At exactly 12:07 p.m., the first Slack message went out in #dashboards help. Is anyone else seeing a 404 on the Q4 performance graph? Just loops back to login screen. 12 seconds later, same here. My budget tracker's empty, like completely blank. By 12:09, the sales operations lead tagged IT with 4 flame emojis and an all-caps urgent. Inside HQ, the air shifted. Not panicked, not yet, but you could feel it like the hum of power right before a fuse box blows. People started standing instead of sitting, walking instead of pinging. You know it's serious when middle managers abandon their AirPods and physically move to a tech support desk. That's Office DEFCON 2. By 12:18, IT had their own war room going, 5 guys staring at 4 different monitors, all of them talking over each other in a symphony of helpless jargon. Try reauthorizing the API handshake. The read-write perms look untouched, but the content's null. Is this a sync issue? But it wasn't a sync issue. It was a Catherine issue. They just didn't know that yet. At 12:25, Trent finally noticed the chaos. Popped his head out of his glass-walled VP office, Starbucks in hand, phone in the other, probably mid-selfie for some leadership in motion post. He blinked at the swarm and smirked. What's going on, folks? Mercury in retrograde? Someone from finance called back. Dashboards are glitching. Data's missing. Trent sipped his coffee, shrugged. They'll fix it. He said it like IT was a vending machine and he just pressed B7. But IT didn't fix it, because by 12:40 they'd identified the source. Or rather, the wall they couldn't get past. Every failure, every blocked report, every corrupted visualization. They all had one thing in common. They traced back to a master credential stream. Admin K22, the IT director, stared at the screen, pale. That's not one of ours. That's not on the current directory. "Can't you revoke it?" someone asked. He shook his head slowly. "It's not that simple. His credential isn't routed through our current admin panel. It's a legacy access point. It's upstream from the system, older than any of the post-merger infrastructure." Then who is it? Silence. Because nobody knew, or rather, nobody in that building remembered. Because when you bury someone's name long enough, when you erase it from decks and pull it off org charts and strip it out of version histories, eventually, you forget who built the world you're standing in. I sat 2 blocks away, finishing my sandwich like it was just another Thursday. My phone buzzed with a notification. Quarterly deck service attempted unauthorized override. Permission denied. I smiled, just barely. Not gloating, not vengeful, precise. At 1:03, Trent messaged the CTO, "Hey, small hiccup on the slides. Maybe ping someone on legacy ops, just in case." The CTO didn't answer, because he had been in the 10 a.m. meeting where they agreed to trim non-critical legacy ops roles. Catherine's name was on that list, bolded, with a smiley face. Back at the office, someone in IT finally said it out loud. "It's like the system doesn't recognize us anymore." No, I thought. It's like the system remembers who mattered. And it's just not any of you. The waitress didn't recognize me when she brought the check. That's how long it had been since I'd sat there alone. No lanyard, no laptop open mid-bite, no trying to explain data drift to some sales VP over soggy fries. Just me, a plate of fries I actually tasted, and the same sun-faded window that used to reflect my own ghost back at me while I played nice for the company card. She dropped the bill gently and asked, "Rough day?" I looked up, half smiling, and just said, "Not for long." Because at that moment, 3:04 p.m., exactly 56 minutes before the scheduled performance review, the first override attempt failed. Back at HQ, someone had finally decided to go nuclear. They called in the contract specialists, a euphemism for that one external IT vendor who always smelled like patchouli and talked like he'd single-handedly invented encryption. He plugged in, ran a diagnostic, and within 3 minutes said, "Yeah, no, this isn't a normal lockdown. This is intentional." He scrolled through error logs, eyes narrowing. "It's not blocking us, it's rerouting us." Like it was designed to watch us fail. They tried manual reboot paths, they tried toggling the deployment hooks, they even unplugged the router, classic move. But the system didn't care. It wasn't bricked, it was just obeying someone else now. Trent started pacing. He called the CTO again. Left another voicemail. "Hey, just looping you in. We've got a weird credential issue. Probably nothing. Might push the review by 5 minutes max." He said it like he had control, like the meeting was still his. He had no idea the control panel he thought he owned was really just a simulation. A little toy steering wheel bolted to a real freight train, and the tracks had already curved. Then came the security ping. At 3:18 p.m., corporate security flagged something strange. Trent's SSO had accessed files at 2:57 p.m. using my credentials. Not his EA's, mine. The same credentials they believed had been deactivated at 9:32 that morning, moments after I handed in my badge. But there it was. A direct access log showing his session pulling archived financial documents through admin K22. It was the dumbest move he could have made, but not unexpected. People like Trent always think the rules are optional when you smile while breaking them. And I let him, because I never logged out. Not really. What they didn't know is that I'd created a soft credential decay protocol, one that appeared deactivated, but remained fully functional behind a timestamp buffer. It stayed alive just long enough to catch any accidental breaches made under my name. It was the bait, and Trent took it with both hands. That single access attempt, using my ghost credential, flashed through every part of the internal compliance audit system, triggered the exact warning I'd coded to activate in case of credential fraud. The alert wasn't loud. It didn't send sirens or big red banners. It sent something better, a silent digest, to legal. Back at the cafe, I dipped a fry in ketchup and scrolled through my burner inbox, saw the automated delivery confirmation. My code had worked. The audit packet had been triggered. One clean file, time-stamped, logged, attached to the new VP's name like a noose made of metadata. I didn't grin, didn't laugh, just nodded once like a chess player watching their opponent reach for a poisoned queen. They thought I was gone. They thought they could harvest the systems I'd built, strip my name off the bones, and wear my work like a tailored suit. But they never noticed the trap sewn into the lining. At 3:28 p.m., I stood, dropped a 10 on the table, walked out of the cafe for the last time. It was almost showtime. The executive boardroom was prepped like it always was for quarterly reviews, bottled water with logos, glossy folders arranged just so, and that forced air of optimism that corporate theater demands before a storm. Trent stood near the front with his sleeves rolled up like he'd just brainstormed a billion-dollar idea on a napkin. His EA was queuing up the slides, clicking through the check marks like she'd actually built something. The CFO sat near the middle, already scanning a paper copy of the same deck he expected to see on screen. The CTO had his phone out, thumbs flying. No one noticed Legal quietly slip in through the side door, face unreadable. At exactly 4:00 p.m., the lights dimmed. The big screen at the front flickered. And then, black. No company logo. No first slide. No cheery KPI bar graphs. Just nothing. A few seconds passed. Whispers, chairs creaked. Trent chuckled, trying to keep it light. Looks like we're having a small tech hiccup. Someone forgot to feed the hamster in the server room. No one laughed. Then the screen blinked. One line of white text appeared. System Administrator Access Log Beginning Trace, and below it another line. Then another. Rapid, rhythmic, methodical. Date. Time. Credential ID, Admin K22. File path. Command entered. User agent, IP trace. The room stilled. The CTO leaned forward, squinting. What the hell? Trent stepped toward the console, reaching for the keyboard. His EA froze. The slide changed on its own. Credential integrity breach detected 11/14/1457. Another line populated. User accessed /reports/Q4 projections v2. PPTX via credential. Admin K22. User session origin. VP Workstation 7, Mac ID, match confirmed. Then, beneath it, action, edited metrics, modified projections, updated timestamp to auto-refresh. The timestamps were brutal, precise, undeniable. Legal stood up. Pause it, the chair of the board said, voice flat, cold. But no one could pause it. The deck wasn't being played from PowerPoint. It was a live execution. The system Catherine built wasn't delivering a presentation, was rendering a verdict. Another slide blinked forward. Credential attempted override 15, 16 unauthorized, trace, VP Workstation 7, override failed. Logged. The CTO turned in his chair. Is this real? The head of legal didn't answer. She was already flipping through a binder, matching timestamps from their internal investigation. Quietly, she began whispering to her associate, who immediately stood and stepped outside. Then came the last slide. Background. White font. No logo, no branding, just one sentence in the center of the screen. This is who kept your company alive. The screen froze there. No music, no fade out, just silence. Trent's mouth was half open, still frozen mid-stride. His EA looked like she wanted to sink into the floor. Someone near the end of the table exhaled. Jesus Christ, then came the whisper from legal. This is a full audit trace. These are forensic logs. The chair turned. Was Admin K22? They all stared at the screen like it might answer. And in a way, it had. The logs hadn't just exposed tampering. They told a story of every system built, every override attempted, every single act of sabotage wearing Catherine's digital fingerprints like a costume. But the system never stopped watching, never stopped recording, because Catherine never trusted them to do the right thing. And now the system was doing it for her. Doors opened with that same hydraulic sigh I'd heard every morning for 5 years. Only this time, the receptionist stood up before I even reached her desk. They're expecting you, she said, eyes wide like I'd grown 10 feet since yesterday. I didn't respond, just nodded and walked past the security gate that should have revoked my clearance hours ago, but didn't. Not because of some IT oversight, because the system knew better. Elevator ride to the executive floor felt longer than usual, not in a bad way, more like the moment before a verdict when everyone else is still pretending the trial's not already over. When the doors slid open, legal was waiting. 3 of them, in suits sharper than Trent's haircut. One carried a leather-bound folder. The other held a tablet. The third just gestured for me to follow. No small talk. We walked down the hall like a funeral procession. Only the dead man didn't know he was in the casket yet. The boardroom was quiet, too quiet. You could hear the filtered air push through the vents. Nobody looked at Trent. He stood at the far end of the table, pale and blinking like he'd just come up for air and realized he was already drowning. The chair of the board turned to me. Miss Keller, thank you for coming. I held up a folder of my own, standard white, thick as a novel, handed it to the legal lead. This is the full audit log, I said. Calm, Even no dramatic monologue. It includes credential access history, time of day flags, document manipulation records, and alert-triggered metadata from all critical systems. I also included screenshots of internal Slack messages from the VP's assistant, using my credentials to push false metric updates. I let the room digest that. The chair flipped through the first few pages, graphs, file IDs, messages, and he stopped. Is this an email timestamp before your termination? Using your credentials from the VP's office, I nodded, correct. And these edits to the Q4 projections, marked as yours but from an unauthorized device, correct again. Those came from VP Workstation 7. You'll find that phrase repeated a lot. Legal glanced at Trent's EA, who now looked like she was about to be sick. The CTO muttered. She built this whole thing like it was a surveillance drone. No, I said softly. I built it like a black box on a crashing plane. The chair looked at Trent. You fired the system administrator. Then your office used her credentials to rewrite financial performance metrics. During a merger, his voice didn't rise. That was scarier than yelling. It was surgical, measured. Trent stammered. I didn't authorize. The chair raised a hand. Stop. Trent obeyed, for once. I didn't smirk, raise an eyebrow. I just stood still, arms at my sides, the way you do when you know gravity is finally doing the heavy lifting. The board turned back to me. What are your demands? That's when I smiled. Just a little, no demands, just resolution. Legal nodded like they already knew what was coming. Would you be open to continuing on as an external consultant, transitioning access properly, training internal replacements? I shrugged. At triple my original rate. Paid in advance. No meetings. The chair gave a dry smile. Fair. Then I reached into my bag one last time and handed over a sealed envelope. What's this? The legal rep asked. A clean credential wipe file. One-click kill switch. It'll remove every trace of admin K22 from your ecosystem. No malware, no traps, just freedom. The room was dead quiet, because there was nothing left to argue. I didn't need revenge. System had already written my side of the story. Every log, every line, every lie. Exposed by the very foundation they tried to bury. Effective immediately, Mr. Donahue is suspended pending full internal and external investigation, the board chair said, voice flat as a closing gavel. Security, please escort him out. The room didn't move at first. Maybe everyone needed a second to catch up. Trent blinked like someone had slapped him with a spreadsheet, and the security team stepped forward, 2 guys in suits, badges under lapels, one already holding the access badge revocation form. He opened his mouth. Maybe to object, maybe to beg. We'll never know, because nobody cared what he had to say anymore. They guided him gently, professionally, like he was being removed from a hotel lobby for drunkenly knocking over a display of complimentary apples. Not with violence, just with finality. I didn't watch him go. I had other things to do. Legal handed me a fresh consulting contract. The numbers were correct, triple my salary, up front, no supervision, limited hour availability, and a clause that stated I wasn't required to respond unless contacted through my preferred channel. Are you interested in returning full-time? The chair asked carefully. I shook my head. No, I already left. Now you're just paying for the map to the forest you got lost in. Nodded once, almost respectfully. I walked over to the conference room AV console, entered my last admin code. A single command prompt opened. No password needed, it recognized me. That legacy system, it still knew who I was. With one click, I wiped the admin K22 credential stream. It didn't burn the house down. It handed over the keys and locked itself behind me. I inserted a USB drive. This is your transition file. Documentation, flow charts, credential hierarchies, system permissions, all clean, all final. The legal team scrambled to duplicate it immediately. When I handed over the drive, I didn't say you're welcome. I said, now it's your system. Good luck. No one spoke. I turned and left. As I walked through the hallway, people stepped aside, not out of fear, but something closer to reverence. Like I was a ghost from the server room that had just proven she was real. Not a myth, not a rumor. Just the quiet woman who had built the machine they'd all taken for granted. Trent passed me on the way out. Still cuff-linked, still red-faced. We didn't exchange a word, but I caught his eyes. And what I saw there wasn't anger, it was realization. The slow, sinking kind. The look of a man who'd finally noticed the foundation cracking after the collapse had already started. The doors hissed open behind me, and sunlight poured in like a reset. No victory lap, no viral post. Just a woman with a quiet smile, walking into a world she no longer had to fix. because everything they built to erase me had crumbled, and all I did was let the truth speak in the language they forgot I wrote. Power wasn't yelling. Power was building the whole damn engine and walking away before it ran off the cliff you warned them about. That's what they never understood. They tried to bury me in the code, not realizing I was the code. Big thanks, you legends of the old office days. Subscribe to keep the switch-flicking chaos alive. Your ex-boss is shaking in their loafers.